Good morning, everyone. My name is Stella Yangzee Sherpa, and I'm a clinical psychologist and also a UGC-NET JRF awardee. I welcome you all to today's lecture class. Today, we shall focus on a very important topic in psychological testing, that is, the steps in test construction. A test is never just a set of questions, it is a scientific tool that must be built carefully to be reliable and valid. We shall first start with the definition and significance of steps of test construction. Then we shall move on to steps in test construction and we'll explore it. Under steps in test construction, we have scaling method, the basis of measurement. Then we'll move on to constructing the items, where we will look at what test items are and the types we can use. Next comes the guidelines for item writing, which ensures items are clear, fair, and meaningful. After that, we'll cover item analysis, where we evaluate items using difficulty and discrimination. Once analysis is done, we'll move on to revising the test, improving its quality, and then to publishing the test, which includes manuals, norms, instructions for proper use, and finally, we'll connect this to tests and decisions, where decision making, exploring concepts like decision outcomes, base rate, selection ratio, and incremental validity. So we see how a test guides, or we'll see how tests can be used in real world choices, especially in clinics, education, organization. By the end of this lecture, you will have a clear picture of the entire journey from developing test items to using the final test for informed decision making. We are going to start with the definition and significance. Test construction refers to a systematic and scientific process of developing a psychological test in order to measure a particular attribute such as intelligence, personality, aptitude, or behavior in a reliable and valid way. As Anastasia and Urbina in 1997 explained, test construction involves a series of planned steps that ensure the test items adequately represent the construct and are statistically also sound. And it should lead to meaningful results. Now let us look at the significance of test construction. Test construction is important because tests are scientific measure of psychological traits. Psychological attributes like intelligence, anxiety, motivation, etc. cannot be directly observed. Test construction provides us with the structured way to measure these abstract traits with scientific accuracy. It also ensures reliability and validity. A systematically built test minimizes measurement errors and ensures consistency as well as meaningfulness. Without proper construction, test scores would be insignificant, or it will lose all its significance. Third is standardization across individuals. A well-constructed test provides norms and standardized scoring procedures. This basically allows meaningful comparison across individuals and groups. For example, an IQ score is interpretable only because it has been standardized against a reference group. Tests are generally expected to be ethical and fair, as test construction ensures that items are unbiased, culturally appropriate, and fair to all examining. This reduces the risk of discrimination and misinterpretation. And then we have to understand tests, the scores and the results of tests leads to decision making in applied setting. Psychological tests play a key role in real life application, especially in clinical psychology, in education, in organization, also in research. Without tests or scientifically constructed tests, research in psychology cannot progress. Reliable and valid measures are the backbone of generating evidence and advancing the field. So to understand this, we have to understand that test construction is not just about creating a set of questions. It is about creating scientific tool that is reliable, valid, fair, and meaningful, that is capable of guiding both theory and practice in psychology. Now let us move on to the steps in test construction. The first step is scaling method. In scaling method, basically, it is the first step in test construction. That is how we will measure responses. Scaling allows us to convert psychological attributes which are abstract into numeric, and also it's converted into numerical data that can be analyzed. Like we've already done it in scales of measurement. Nominal scale, that is only categorical data or classification only. For example, gender, blood group. Ordinal scale has ranks but without equal intervals, like coming first, second, third in race or class in any exam. Then we have interval scale, equal intervals but no true zero. We can take example of an IQ score or any measure of temperature like Celsius scale. Then we have ratio scale, equal intervals with true zero. That is reaction time, weighing scale. In psychological testing, interval scales are most common because they allow us to meaningfully interpret differences between scores. Then we move on to the second point, that is constructing items. There are a meaning and types of items. Once we decide on the scaling method, the next step is to construct the items. Test items are the individual questions or items, the tasks or statements that make up the test. Each item is designed to reflect the psychological construct we are trying to measure. Then we have the types of item. It can be objective type, like multiple choice question. It can be structured with responses, true or false, and match the following. Then we have subjective items like open-ended questions or responses, such as essay type, projective test, etc. Then they provide rich data, but it's very hard to score them reliably. Then we have performance-based item, like it can involve puzzles, block design, problem solving, drawing, etc. Now, next point is having proper guidelines for item writing. When we are constructing test items, certain guidelines must be followed, such as items should be clear and unambiguous. Okay, we have to avoid double-barreled questions like I am happy and energetic. They are basically telling you two things in one item. So it's better to write I feel happy most of the time and I feel energetic most of the time as two separate items. Then we can avoid leading or biased statements like, let me give you an example. Most people think saving money is wise. Do you save money? It's better to write how often do you save a part of your income, right? Because it's a neutral question. Then we should ensure that the language matches the target population's level of understanding. Whether we cannot use technical jargons or culturally unfamiliar expression, these things should be avoided at all costs. For children, simple language, concrete language should be used. And for adults, items can be more abstract. Okay, items should also always represent the full range of the construct being measured. For example, if you are trying to study anxiety among college students, it should include both cognitive and physiological indicators, right? Next, we shall move on to item analysis. In item analysis, okay, we have item difficulty and item discrimination. Okay, we must all the items should go through item analysis to ensure that each questions perform well. Let's start with item difficulty. Under item difficulty, basically it refers to the proportion of people who answer an item correctly. Let's say item that is too easy or too difficult, often they are discarded. Ideally, a moderate level of difficulty is chosen. And moderate level of difficulty, basically, how do we know if it's a moderate level or easy? Or there is a formula, P equal to N by R, where R is the correct responses, N is the total number of examinee, and P is basically the level of difficulty. It ranges from 0 to 1. Okay, and if it's P less than 0.20, that means too difficult. If it's P more than 0.80, it's too easy. Generally, an optimal range of, let's say, 0.30 to 0.70 is accepted. Anything that falls within this range is accepted. Then we have item discrimination. Refers to how well item differentiates between high scorers and low scorers. A good test item should clearly distinguish between individuals with more and less of the construct. A good item is one that high ability individuals tend to answer. This item has basically good discrimination, right? Even this one has a formula, that is D equal to U minus L in brackets divided by n by 2, which means U is the correct answers, correct in upper group, L means correct in lower group, n divided by 2 is the size of one group. Okay, it ranges from -1 to +1. Okay, next we shall go to the next topic, next point, that is under steps of test construction, that is revising the test. How do we revise the test? After we finish with the item analysis, some of the items may be changed, replaced, or even removed. This is important because we only want the best item to stay in the final test. Revision can also mean improving the instructions so that they are clear, adjusting the time. Also, when I say adjusting time, it means adjusting the time limit for each test if needed, or even reorganizing the test structure so that it flows better. In simple words, the stage is like polishing the test. The first step is to eliminate or modify poor items. So based on the item analysis, some tests are either discarded or they are altered. Okay, they are revised by rewording, by splitting double-barreled questions, simplifying the language, etc. Second, we have a second way of revising the test is to basically make the instructions more clear, precise, and reduce measurement errors caused by misunderstanding. Revisions may involve, like, let's say, clarifying response format, right, using multiple choice or Likert scale. Then we have explaining time limits more explicitly, giving examples of how to mark the answers. Also, it is very important that instructions are clear, because it can distort performances regardless of the item quality. Is very important. Next, we have to understand, like, we are done with refining the test instruction, adjusting time. After a pilot test, analysis of completion time is conducted. If too many examinees fail to finish within the allotted time, the time is extended. Okay, it's adjusted. Conversely, if the time is if the test is finished too quickly, the time is limited or shortened. Okay, it is very important to understand that time is very essential when it comes to some test. Okay, then next is reorganizing the test structure. Items are rearranged or arranged in a way that enhances the flow of logical progression. The test takers and it is also keeping in mind the test takers' comfort. All right. Typical revisions might include ordering items from easy to difficult, okay, grouping them in certain domains, like a verbal, numerical, spatial, okay, avoiding clustering of similar items that might cue answers. All right. Next is ensuring content coverage. Even if some items are poorly they have poor poor statistically. Okay, when it comes to reliability or validity, or maybe when it comes not reliability, validity, I'll say about item analysis. When it's done, they have the difficulties level is less or too is high. Okay, and they are doing poor when it comes to statistics. Statistically, they may be retained for the content validity. Okay, the emphasis is given to the psychometric, not just the psychometric quality alone, it is also given to the entire construct. So revision balances statistical analysis with the theoretical and content relevance. Please remember this. Next we have is re-standardization after revision. Okay, major revision like removal and adding item or rewording structures often require fresh tryout or a pilot study. New norms, reliability, and validity coefficient may need to be re-established again. Revising a test is not just about deleting poor items. It involves a systemic refinement of items, instruction, timing, structure, and content to balance out the final test, basically. It's not just about psychometry. It's also about being, practically useful. All right. Next, we have is how to publish the test. After revision, we have to publish the test. How do we do it? It's very important. This is the final stage where test is made available for use by other professionals. This stage is crucial because it determines whether the test will be applied consistently, fairly, or in accordance with the professional and ethical guidelines. First is preparing the test manual. Very important. A good test manual is the foundation of ethical and accurate test use. It typically includes purpose of the test, okay, explains what the test measures, right, states the population, then gives the administration instruction properly, then they have scoring procedures. After scoring procedures, they include the norms and standardization procedures, because it is very important to have the norm tables, right. Reliability and validity of data is also it's displayed, it's given in the booklets or in the manual. Okay. Next, we have ethical consideration. Why do we have ethical consideration? Tests should only be published if they meet professional standards of validity, reliability, fairness, and utility. Test manuals must caution against misuse, basically, or administration by unqualified individual, because that will do more harm than good. All right. Next is test materials. Along with the manual, publishing often includes test booklets, forms, answer sheets, stimulus material like cards, figures, pictures, blogs, etc. Software or online platform for administration, scoring, or even modern adaptation. Right. Next, we have accessibility and updates. Once published, the test must undergo periodic revision and keep norms updated and relevant. It is important. Outdated norms and cultural bias can reduce the fairness of the test, the reliability or validity of the test. Hence, publishers often re-standardize at intervals, right? So publishing a test is not the end of the test development, but the stage where the test becomes a professional instrument. It ensures that other psychologists can administer, score, interpret it cultural, accurately, more or less, and ethically and consistently throughout the entire process. The manuals, they provide proper guidance. Okay, it's important to have such manuals or important test materials and even proper ethical consideration, right? Next point is test. The next topic basically is tests and decisions. Psychological tests are not developed merely to measure traits or abilities. Their primary utility lies in decision making. Test helps professionals in education, employment, and clinical fields, or in other fields as well, in legal settings, etc., to make choices about selection, placement, diagnosis, and intervention. The first is decision outcomes. When using a test to measure a decision, there are 4 possible outcomes, okay, which are true positive, that is correct, does not, and then the second is does not. Suppose it has that characteristic. So let's say if someone has depression, then it is a true positive. Someone doesn't have depression and we rule it out, then that is true negative. Suppose someone has the characteristic but it has depression has been ruled out. Okay, they have depression, but because of poor knowledge, or let's say poor understanding of that disorder, they rule it out. So that is false negative. Okay. Suppose the person does not have, for the same very reason of having being a little when I say that they don't understand the disorder well, they have less knowledge of it, so they might rule in depression when they do not actually have the characters. They might have psychosis, so that is false positive. Okay. So to maximize true positives and true negatives while minimizing errors like false positives and false negatives. Let me give you an example. In job screening for pilots, a true positive is selecting the right candidate with high aptitude who perform well. A false positive would be selecting a candidate with low aptitude who might fail the training or even might cause greater harm. Next, we have base rate. What is base rate? The proportion of people in the population who actually possess the characteristic of interest. For example, there are 100 applicants for a post of, let's say, for a post of clinical psychology, or for a post of a teacher, and among them only 10 are truly competent. The base rate is basically 0.10. and that is 10%. Okay, high base rate, okay, means many suitable people. Even a mediocre test may produce acceptable decisions. Low base rate means a few suitable people. The test must be very accurate to identify rare suitable candidates. Next, we have selection ratio. The proportion of applicants selected out of the total applicant pool. If 20 candidates are selected out of 100 applicants, selection ratio is 0.20. Okay, low selection ratio means greater opportunity to pick the best. High selection ratio means less effective screening as nearly everyone is accepted. So it is said that a low selection ratio increases the test power to separate the most suitable individuals or candidates. Then we have the last one, that is incremental validity. The degree to which the test adds predictive value, what is already known from other methods, let's say academics, record, interviews, work samples, etc. Does using this test improve decision-making accuracy compared to using the existing information alone? Suppose a company uses academic grades to predict job performance. Adding an aptitude test increases prediction accuracy from 60 to 80%. The extra 20% improvement represents incremental validity. Okay, so a test should not duplicate information already available, but to provide unique, insightful additions, right? So we can say that decision outcomes show how well a test minimizes classification error. Base rate and selection ratio, they set a context in which the test is applied. Incremental validity ensures that the test meaningfully improves the accuracy of decisions. To wrap that up, test construction is step-by-step scientific process that ensures our tools are reliable, valid, and fair. From scaling and item writing to analysis, revision, finally to publish it, every stage plays a vital role. And remember, the ultimate purpose of these tests is not just measurement, but guiding real-world decision in many fields. Okay, now we can come to an end of our lecture, but we shall move on with few MCQs. The first question is, which of the following is the first step in the process of test construction? Is it A, test item analysis? Is it B, establishing reliability? Is it C, defining the purpose and construct of the test? Or is it D, publishing the test? Which one is it? So it is C, defining and the purpose and construct of the test. That's the first thing that we do. Next question is, when writing test items, which of the following should be avoided? Clear and unambiguous wording, double-barreled statements. Then we have representing the full construct range, language suitable for the target population, which should be avoided. Which is the correct answer? Is it clear and unambiguous wording? No. It is double-barreled statement should be avoided at all cost. Right? The next question is, after item analysis, the process of revising the test may include all except removing or modifying core items, refining the test instructions, adjusting test timing, or changing the construct definition midway. Which one is it? The answer is D, changing the construct. Okay, we cannot change the construct because the construct should be defined at the beginning and not altered during the revision. The last question is, which of the following is included in a test manual when the test is published? Instructions for administration, norms and standardization detail, reliability and validity data, and all of the above. The answer is all of the above. For a good test, manual should provide all of the above: instruction, guidance for correct, standardized, and ethical test use. Okay, we come to an end of our lecture class. Thank you so much.